The third thing that the camera needs to control proper exposure is something called the aperture. And that's how much light does the lens let through to the imaging device in the back of the camera. So the shutter controls the light coming through the lens, but the lens itself determines how big a hole, how much light is actually going to come through the lens. And that's called the aperture. Now, what I found hard when I was learning photography is to get my mind around that. The bigger the number, the smaller the hole. Small. The smaller the number, the bigger the hole. You can determine how much light comes in with the aperture as well. By the way, the reason this keeps cutting out is because there's a sensor built into the eyepiece, so if you hold the camera up to your face, the actual viewfinder turns off. And I should also say, while I am thinking about it, the viewfinder is also reversible. So you can switch out the viewfinder, and this is great if you're taking a photograph above your head, okay, or down low. So you can adjust it, and it's great for video, or I can show people when I'm taking pictures, or if I'm doing video, what they look like. But that's a side note. So there you go. So now back to our regularly scheduled program. There's different ways of adjusting your aperture. One of the ways is, of course, is in manual, and then just adjust it on the back. Or when you're learning, a good way to learn aperture and how it works is to go to the AV mode, aperture value. And when you go into the aperture value mode, you will notice that the turn wheel, the wheel here now controls not the shutter speed, but it controls your aperture right there, 9, etc. But the aperture there determines how much light the lens is letting through, but it also plays with the depth of field. What is the depth of field? Another way I describe it is your depth of focus. What's the range of focus? If you have something that has a deep depth of field like this shot, you're going to see way behind me that brick wall is in focus. Everything is in focus. That's a really deep depth of field. Part of that is because I'm shooting fairly wide. If you shoot with a wider lens, say the 18, it's going to give you a deep depth of field. As you zoom the lens in, the depth of field gets shallower. The other thing that affects the depth of field is the aperture. So the smaller the hole, more is in focus. The bigger the hole, less is in focus, more shallow focus. So if you want to take a photograph of me and blur the background, then you need to back the camera up, zoom the lens in, and go with a very, very wide open aperture. Whatever the aperture is going to be all the way open, that's going to give you the most shallow depth of field. Why does that matter? Why do you need to know these sort of things? Because when you're taking a picture, and if I have, say, 5 people in a row, and I want them all in focus, then I need to make sure that the aperture is going to work for me so that they're all in focus. These are effects that you can use to your advantage. They do work really great. It works great in sports, too. So those 3 things, aperture, shutter speed, and your ISO, all affect the exposure of your camera. To take the picture here, again, the button's right here. When I'm doing video, the button is at the back right here. And this button is also the live view mode. If I push that button, it's going to turn see how you can now see through it? So then this is a photograph in photo mode. So if I'm going to take a picture, that's going to burn up your battery real quick, which is another reason why we bring a, second battery. So always bring a second battery with you. Most cameras have lens caps. Please do use them. Guard that lens, and you are good to go. Camera on, pick a mode, okay? If you're learning, again, I recommend the program mode because you can override things. One of the things we didn't talk about is the flash. The flash on and off button is here on the side, right with my finger. So if I want the flash, I push it and it goes on, or I can close it up. When it's in program mode, I determine if the flash is going to go off or not. If it's in automatic mode, the A+ mode, it's just going to do it. It's just going to do it. So a lot of times I don't want the flash. You did see earlier there's a no flash mode I can put it into, flash off, but again it's like automatic but no flash. There's a whole bunch of other modes in here too. You can select the portrait mode. There's one for far away, macro photography. Let's see the little flower for close-ups, that kind of stuff. Again, the goal is really to work towards manual photography, but here's the thing, if you're taking great pictures, personally, I mean, I don't really care what the settings are like on the camera if you understand the basic principles how to take a good photograph. But I think what you will find is the more control you have over the camera, the more creative control you have over your photographs, and it gives you a bit more range. One of the big advantages that these cameras have over a smartphone device is you have an optical zoom lens. So I can zoom it in like a telescope or a pair of binoculars, and the quality is maintained as I zoom in and out of the camera. Believe me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that we can talk about. ISO, how sensitive the camera is to light. Shutter speed, how fast is it taking pictures, and what's it doing to the action? Do I need to capture the action, or do I want it to be blurred? Do I want a night scene? Do I want the moon at night? I'm shooting this thing on the eclipse. Shutter speed, and then aperture, what's kind of depth of field do I want in that? So think of it as a triangle, right? Shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, and those three would work together. So if you have more of one, you have to compensate with the other two to make sure that the exposure is right. And again, as I said, if you have to pick between overexposed and underexposed, go with underexposed. So there you go. That's digital photography in a nutshell. A tough one to do for me because I've been doing this for over 30 years. I love photography and have so much more to say. So I'm going to end it there. If you want to know more, do more reading, take a photojournalism course, look stuff up, watch more videos. This is not meant to be an ad for Canon, by the way. We like all manufacturers, and the cameras work very similarly. The most important thing, though, is you understand aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Those three things work together to give you a properly exposed photograph, and it also affects the way the picture looks. So if you understand those things, you're halfway there. All those other things we talk about in terms of elements and principles, design, colors, backgrounds, framing, that kind of stuff, that is another video for another day. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, I'm Dr. Gary Gould, and I look forward to seeing you again.